Alright, this is gonna be a bit of a series, I guess, where I commentate on games and upload them to YouTube, and a couple of games like the SuperbLizard versus Elpaniko. That was such a beautiful game in some sort, and I want to highlight a couple of things, and maybe you can take away things and apply them to your game. So we have a lizard brew, and these two players, they are both top tier players, so we can learn a lot from them. And Lizard's deck is some sort of a homebrew where it plays 3 colors, and most creatures cost around 3 to 5. And he has a bit more movement, mobility than Elpaniko's green list, but Elpaniko's cards are a bit more sturdy compared to Lizard. And what we see here in this position, we see that in a lot of games where one player goes to one side and the other to the other side, and now we're in pretty much the situation that we see a lot in a lot of games. Both players are faced with a decision of what to do next. Do you either attack or do you defend? And you'll see this throughout this game, where people, or these two players, will have these two collections, and as soon as one player starts losing that collection, that double collection, or that equality in terms of Faeria, the game starts to shift. And Lizard decides to defend in this position instead of attacking, and main reason for that is that Elpaniko has a defensive Therian Golem, which is amazing stats, and it's kinda hard to kill for Lizard. So he ends up going for the defensive line, Elpaniko naturally for the aggressive one. And here we see the first clash. And just throughout this entire game, just pay attention to how much people collect, or these two players collect. And so far it's 2 for 2. Yeah, this is a bit of a misstep from Elpaniko. He missed 2 damage, but I don't think it matters in the grand scheme of things. And all of a sudden, Lizard realizes, okay, Elpaniko has put a lot of resources into offense, so what do? We go for an attack. He played that really quickly. What you have to notice, and I'm sure there was a lot of consideration to that play, that Verdant Force has 7 health, and the Mystic Beast and the Zagami Warrior attack line up to 7. So the Mystic Beast now trades nicely into the Therian Golem. Here we have the first big, I guess, power spike, where a 5-cost unit in the tow ship dies to the destructive volley. So that was a really nice tech from Elpaniko that must have hurt Lizard a lot, because a 3 for 5 trade. But so far Elpaniko has collected twice last turn around, and Lizard is collecting a second time as well. So we're still even, and we see a couple of clashes, both aggressive and defensive on both sides. So Lizard is using the fact that he has superior movement tricks to take favorable trades, and all of a sudden we see a shift. If Elpaniko doesn't do anything, if he just passes in this situation, the equilibrium stops. it's a 3-for-1 for Lizard. So Elpaniko has an answer. He gets his second collection and secures his situation again, or his side of the board again, and we're back again, 2 for 2. Both are, both have one side secured. So it's just really beautiful, this game, and as I mentioned at the start of the game, if Elpaniko hadn't been able to clear that Mystic Beast, the game would just be over. Because slowly but surely the game snowballs out of control. So that was super crucial that he had that Horse Master. And again, Lizard is threatening here a third collection. So Elpaniko again has to kind of react to that boar, which has, compared to the Lost the Lost Explorer, a lot better stat line. And here we see again a really good trade for Elpaniko with that guidance, with the Elwood Embrace, and all of a sudden it looks kinda bad for Lizard, because Elpaniko is stabilized on his left side, but we still are on a 2 for 2 collection. And notice how Lizard doesn't go for face damage, because in this type of situation face damage doesn't matter whatsoever. Whoever controls more wells at some stage of the game just wins the game. Now Elpaniko plays a crucial turn that ends up winning him the game, really, where he plays the I don't know the card name at the moment, can't think of the name, but he plays a Haunted Willow, a 2-cost card, which is, especially in this situation, crazy value if you compare it to the Glide Hopper, who costs 5. Well, it collected once, but it's still that 2 for 2. So if these two trade, the Glide Hopper and the Willow, it's really a 5 for 2 trade, and this is a massive swing. So we see that Lizard just cannot take this trade. It's way too expensive. And what do you do if you can deal with a creature? Well, attack on the other side, like he does with that Swordfish. And the stats line up very nicely into that Sagami Warrior. And still we are on that 2 for 2 collection. And that's been like that the entire game. I just love it. It's so beautiful. And this is an important land that Elpaniko eventually had to make. And this aggressive land giving him access to the to Lizard's face in a just you play them and the turn after you threaten a face hit. And this was another crucial turn where Elpaniko manages to clear that Swordfish and still keeping his Sagami alive, so value trading it. And if Lizard doesn't do anything, that Willow starts a triple collection next turn, which starts to swing the board. And the one thing that's going for Lizard in this game really is the superior movement, superior mobility with the jump creatures and so on. So he really has to pick his favorable trades. But Elpaniko with the 2 Horse Masters was really able to negate that, or yeah, take trades as he wants, and he always will have the better stats because that's the nature of green, the immobility, but having good stats in return for that. And that's why these two Horsemaster were huge in this situation. And that's the very first time in this entire game where Elpaniko was able to collect the third time. And finally managed to push a lot of damage. And you kind of see usually... Oh, that's such a huge turn for Elpaniko with the shrine. You see that additional collection really made this entire turn possible. With one Faeria less, he would not have been able to do that. And that's so amazing about this this game. I feel like the moment we see a third collection, it just, I mean, most of the time it's not the case this crazy like that, but in this case, literally the turn where the first time you don't have a triple collection, or the first time someone has a triple collection just has a huge turn afterwards. And yeah, Lizard now is only single collecting because still he cannot afford to trade into that Willow. He has to defend, so he's only collecting once. The longer this game pans out now, the worse it's gonna get. And we see again, Elpaniko could deal a lot of face damage, but it's really important that he chooses the favorable trades when he can get them. And again, we have a 3-for-1 collection, so Elpaniko just has to keep the state as is, and slowly but surely he's just gonna edge ahead because he can play more expensive creatures. Or more creatures in general. But Lizard is holding the fort just about. If Elpaniko doesn't have a good turn this turn, Lizard might get his second collection back and maybe equalize. But here we just see the problem with the triple collection versus one. Look at how many creatures Elpaniko is able to play. And it's becoming harder and harder, and Elpaniko even making sure that Lizard is not collecting. And yeah, slowly but surely this game is getting out of hand. And looking back at it, the main keys of this game were really the destructive volley, where Elpaniko managed to trade a 5-for-3 and killing that tow ship that was really threatening. And second of all, the two Horsemaster from Elpaniko being able to take good trades, even though he's not the mobility deck, I guess. And these, and of course that Haunted Willow that costs 2 that Lizard cannot deal with because it's a 3 Faeria swing, and it would just lose him the game tempo wise. These things really didn't go Lizard's way, and it's very possible that if you play this game again, it's gonna pan out a lot different, because both players will know what the other player runs in his deck and so on. But yeah, at this stage it's just snowballing out of hand. There's no way, and Lizard realizes that and concedes. Yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed, and see you around.